Picture this, April 14th, 1912, the grandest ship ever built, the RMS Titanic, slices through the icy waters of the North Atlantic. It's a floating palace, a marvel of human engineering. Unsinkable, they said. But just before midnight, disaster strikes. An iceberg tears into its hull, and within hours, over 1,500 souls vanish beneath the waves. The official story? A tragic accident. But what if I told you there's more to this tale than meets the eye? What if the Titanic didn't sink by chance, but by design? Buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the shadowy conspiracy theories that refuse to let this ship rest in peace. First up, let's talk about the big one, the ship switch theory. Imagine this, the Titanic wasn't the Titanic at all. Some say it was actually its older sister, the Olympic, disguised and sent to the bottom in a twisted insurance scam. Sounds crazy, right? But hear me out. The Olympic had a rough past. Back in 1911, it smashed a British warship, the HMS Hawke, leaving it battered and costly to repair. The White Star Line, owned by the powerful J.P. Morgan, was bleeding money. So, the theory goes, they swapped the two ships, painted over the names, shuffled some deck details, and sent the damaged Olympic out as the Titanic, planning a staged wreck to cash in on insurance. Only problem? That iceberg hit harder than expected, and the plan spiraled out of control. Researchers have debunked this, pointing to the Titanic's unique construction number, 401, found on wreckage parts. But still, why was the Titanic off limits for inspection before it sailed? Coincidence or cover-up? Now, let's zoom in on J.P. Morgan himself, the millionaire mastermind behind the Titanic. Here's where it gets juicy. Morgan was supposed to sail on the ship's maiden voyage, but get this, he cancelled at the last minute, claiming illness. Convenient timing, huh? Conspiracy theorists say he had bigger motives. Aboard the Titanic were three of the world's richest men, John Jacob Astor IV, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus. Word on the street, or at least the conspiracy street, is that these guys oppose Morgan's dream of creating the US Federal Reserve, a centralized banking system he'd pushed through just a year later. Did Morgan sink his own ship to silence them? There's no hard proof. Astor and Guggenheim never spoke publicly against the Fed, and Strauss actually supported it. But the whispers persist. Was this a billionaire hit job disguised as a disaster? Okay, hold on to your hats, because this next one's wild. What if the Titanic wasn't sunk by an iceberg, but by a German U-boat? Picture it, a stealthy submarine lurking beneath the waves, unleashing torpedoes into the ship's belly. Survivors reported hearing strange explosions after the iceberg hit. Could those have been underwater blasts? The theory ties this to World War I tensions brewing in 1912, suggesting Germany wanted to flex its naval muscle early. But here's the snag, U-boats didn't start sinking ships like that until years later, and the Titanic took over 2 hours to go down, way slower than a torpedo strike would have caused. Still, that mysterious vessel spotted miles away, lurking until dawn, what was it doing there? Now let's step into the supernatural. Ever heard of the cursed mummy of Amun-Ra? Legend says a British historian, Lord Canterville, brought this Egyptian priestess's sarcophagus aboard the Titanic. Too valuable for the cargo hold, it sat near the bridge. Close enough, some claim, for her angry spirit to mess with Captain Smith's head. They say she clouded his judgment, making him ignore ice warnings and steam full speed into doom. The story's a stretch. No mummy was listed on the manifest, but it's eerie how this tale keeps popping up. Fueled by a real-life journalist, W.T. Stead, who spun mummy curse stories before he went down with the ship. Coincidence? Or something ancient at play? Here's a theory with some heat, literally. What if a coal fire doomed the Titanic before it even hit the iceberg? Engineers say a fire smoldered in the ship's coal bunker for weeks, weakening the hull right where the iceberg struck. To hide the damage, the crew shoveled coal into the furnaces, pushing the ship to dangerous speeds through icy waters. Photos from Southampton show a dark smudge on the hull, proof, some argue, of fire damage. Experts say this fire wasn't a secret, it was under control. But could it have been the real reason the unsinkable ship crumpled so fast? Time for some engineering intrigue. What about those watertight doors? Some theorists argue that if they'd been opened instead of sealed, the Titanic might have stayed afloat longer, maybe long enough for rescue ships to arrive. The idea is the ship would have settled evenly, not nosedived into the depths. But hold up, calculations show the front compartments were locked tight by design, and opening them would have flooded more, not less. Still, it's a haunting what-if that keeps the mystery alive. So, what sank the Titanic? An iceberg? A fire? A mummy's curse? Or was it a calculated plot by powerful men playing chess with human lives? The deeper you dig, the murkier it gets. Maybe it was just a perfect storm of bad luck. Calm seas, no moon, a steering slip-up, or maybe, just maybe, there's truth buried in these conspiracies, waiting to surface. What do you think? Drop your theories in the comments. I'm dying to hear them. And if you're as hooked on this mystery as I am, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell. The Titanic's secrets aren't done with us yet.